Hey there, men. Mike Yarbrough here, Wolf and Iron Podcast. Welcome back to a Truck Talk Thursday. Happy Truck Talk Thursday to you guys. Hope you're having a good week. Hope you're getting some good things done out there. Listen, if you're new, I wanted to say welcome to you. You've come to a really interesting space here on the interwebs and in the world these days where men actually talk about being a man. And with all of the confusion out there about what a gender is and the roles of a man, the roles of a woman. Is there such a thing anymore? Those kinds of things. You know, all the conversations that are going on out there. You come to a place where we actually affirm what it means to be a man, and we talk about what it means to be a man, and speak specifically to men, although I'm sure I've got some lady listeners out there as well. But the Wolf and Iron Podcast is all about helping you heed the high call that's on your life. I believe that's the call that God gives every man, to be the best man that he can be. And that's going to look a little bit different for each guy in his own family and in his own home and his own walk. But I think you know what it is. I think you feel it, and I think maybe you're trying to figure it out. Well, we're here to give you some clues as to what that might look like. The Truck Talk Thursday podcast episodes, which is what you're listening to now, is as it sounds. It's just me talking to you guys from my truck and enjoying being able to just share some thoughts with you guys. And this is totally, unedited, any of that kind of stuff. It's just stream of consciousness. And today I want to talk about something Marcus Luttrell said. It actually shocked me a little bit that he said this. If you haven't yet listened to the Marcus Luttrell podcast episode, go do so. If you're not familiar with Marcus Luttrell, he's the guy from Lone Survivor, or the Lone Survivor book that came out several years back. Basically lost a bunch of his buddies in combat and was the lone survivor after just a hellish and brutal attack that he survived. And he's come back, and he's pro-American. He's a Navy SEAL. He's an awesome guy. He's a motivating speaker. He's just doing a lot of great things for veterans. But when we started off the podcast, one of the things that we were talking about was his mission now. Like, what's your mission now? And his mission now is mainly his family. And obviously that makes sense. That should be most of our mission, right? If you have a family, that should be your primary mission. But his mission now is family. And he had mentioned, I know he mentioned it in the podcast, but I think he may have mentioned it maybe in his book as well, Lone Survivor. But I had heard it somewhere else before. He had been raised in kind of a matriarchal home. And which, is fine. There's some ways that can happen, which could be beneficial. Maybe I'll talk about that in a second. But he basically talked about his home life now as matriarchal, which is a bit strange, right? A little striking, considering the fact that he's Navy SEAL and manly man and badass and all that kind of stuff. But he said one of the things that's really a pet peeve of mine, and I think a lot of guys say it not really thinking about what it means, and maybe he didn't either. But he said, I'm all about that happy wife, happy life, kind of way of living. Happy wife, happy life. And that bothers me on a couple of levels. Now, I think when guys say that, what they mean is, I'm just trying to, keep peace in the home, keep the wife happy, I'm happy, everything's good, and I can go off to work and I can do my thing. Right, I can do whatever it is that I'm doing outside the home. I've never known an instance where this sort of mantra was played out in the family, or a family that played this out, that it actually worked out. It's always been really screwed up. And let me just tell you guys first, I believe the man should be the head of his home. Now, that doesn't mean dictatorship. That doesn't mean that he has to do everything. It really just means that we're the key decision makers. We're the final say in things, and that means we take the responsibility for the final say in things as well. But a lot of our leadership capacity should be given to putting the right people in place to do the right things. We do this in our business. You should be doing this in your career at work. If you're a leader there, you do it in your home. And so it's finding, the strengths that you have and working in those in your house, and it's finding the strengths that your wife has and helping her work in those. So maybe she's a great organizer of your home and of the day and of meals and of whatever, or maybe she's the one that goes out and she works and she needs that sort of external outlet, right, to do things and to be her best self. Your job as a leader is to figure out the right balance there and the right systems to put in place for your home. But the happy wife, happy life thing usually looks like this. When you really kind of take a step back and you see how it looks like this. In order to keep mom happy, we'll smoke, but we won't smoke around mom. In order to keep mom happy, we will show up for church on Sunday morning, even though we don't really want to go there, or maybe just special holidays as you get older, Christmas, Easter, Thanksgiving if you're visiting. In order to make mom happy, we'll show up for family dinners, every Sunday or every other Sunday, something like that, even though we really don't want to be there, but we want to make mom happy. In order to make mom happy, we're not going to take that job that's out of town because she would hate to see her little boy or her little girl move off and not know what's going on. In order to make mom happy, we're going to date a girl for however long and move in with her and sleep with her and those kinds of things, but not actually introduce her to our mom because mom wouldn't approve of those kinds of things. You guys see a pattern here? It becomes an issue of trying to keep one person in the family happy, kind of at all costs kind of thing, rather than coming to having a good, healthy family dynamic where, mom doesn't have to like everything that's done. And the kids don't have to like everything that's done. And there's some compromise there. Mom and dad might decide to do something that the kids don't like, and the kids just kind of have to tag along until they get to be a certain age when they're not kids anymore. But as the kids get older, a lot of times there can be more compromise. Hey, what do you guys want to do this summer? What do you guys want to do, this weekend? That kind of stuff, right? But when you focus on making one person happy in order to have a happy life, things get really skewed really quickly. And that's what I've seen from people who kind of practice this. Really practice this whole happy life, happy wife, happy life thing. The guys are focused on keeping their wife happy. And that's not healthy, guys. And listen, if that's you, if that's your mantra, if that's the way that you kind of live things out, you got to recognize it's not good for you. Okay, yeah, you want your wife to be happy, but some of that's on her. And actually a lot of that's on her. I think a happy person, whether it's a parent or a wife, a lot of it has to do with this understanding that I'm in a space, especially as a parent, where I'm going to be sacrificing some things for the good of my family. And I can find joy in that. Now, this isn't just an exclusively woman thing to do. I'm not saying men don't have to sacrifice for the family. I'm saying as a parent or as a spouse, there should be this mindset of like, I'm going to do good for the other person because I love them, and I don't expect anything in return. And I'll tell you, those are the people who usually get the most back. Is people who don't expect to get anything back. So I don't agree with this happy life, happy wife thing, or happy wife, happy life. It's even hard to say. But I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. Is there another way of thinking about this? One of the ways that you guys can sound off here is in the Wolf and Iron community. We've got a great Facebook group. You guys should join it. Should be a part of it. wolfandiron.com/the group. Throw a question out there. What do you guys think about this? Happy wife, happy life. Does this make sense? Is there any way that this works in your family that you would say this as a man with confidence and you wouldn't feel like, you just handed your balls over to somebody else? Now, let me talk for a second about the a matriarchal kind of setup of things and why I think that can actually work out well in some cases. So the matriarchal setup would be that, and the way I understand it, is that instead of the man kind of directing things and organizing things, the woman does that, right? The wife does that. And the mom does these things. I don't think she has to be head of the household in order to really set direction and basically be the organizational head of things in the house. Now, I think dad shouldn't just be aloof. It's not our job to just check out and be like, well, the house, that's mom's domain, so I'm just going to leave that up to her, and I'm just going to go do my own thing. I'm going to hunt, and I'm going to fish, and I'm going to make money and that kind of stuff. We've got to be involved in these things. But I think that if you have a strong wife, right, a strong mother, I think you can actually have a good setup where she is working in her strengths. She's kind of swimming with the current, as it were. and she's able to make decisions. She's the Proverbs 31 woman that goes out in the morning and gets things done. And she sells, land, and she's buying good things, and she's bringing them home, and, she's doing all these amazing things. And maybe that's not the actual definition of a matriarchal household, but I think one in which it kind of works, where the wife, the mom, she knows, like, this is my home, this is my domain. I know this better than anybody else, and I know good decisions from bad decisions. I know what the kids need. I know what we're going to have for dinner. I know how to do groceries. I know how to do budgeting. I know how to do all these things. Man, that's somebody you can trust. That's somebody you want to put in charge of something, right? And so I think that in that sense, it makes sense. It practiced in that way, you can have something like a matriarchal kind of house. And here's the thing. Most of us guys are not great at nurturing. That's not really where our strengths lie. We can get better at it over the years. But we're not great at this sort of family dynamic, constant care environment. We really want to be out building stuff, fixing things, making things happen. And we're designed to be that way. And that's not a bad thing. Of course, we've got to grow to be good at both. But, we really want to work in our strengths. And our strengths really should be decision-making, planning, and sort of long-term vision type of stuff with our wives, in concert with our wives, because they're in tune with things that we're not. But also doing things outside the home, right? I mean, it's okay if the home is not our primary area of expertise and whatnot. Should we be leaders there? Absolutely. Do we need to make every decision? No. And I think there's a big change there. And guys, we've got to respect that with our wives. When we put them in a place, or when they agree to be put into a place, or they put themselves in a place, however you want to word that, where they're going to be raising the kids and cooking the meals and doing whatever traditional type of stuff. And you guys are probably thinking, where do you find a woman like that? That's what I'm talking about, Jack. Where do you find a woman like that? Well, they're out there. But when a woman decides that she wants to be in a more traditional role and she wants to, be a homemaker, right? And she really takes pride in that. Well, we've got to respect her ability to do that to the best of her ability. And we've got to support her in that role. And I think that's a big part of what Marcus Luttrell was saying. Hey, look, I'm there to help my wife do the things that she needs to get done to manage the home. And when she's getting those things done, she's happy. There's a sort of a clockwork type of thing that's happening with the home, right? And I don't know Marcus Luttrell's wife. I don't know anything about her, but I'm imagining she can manage the heck out of a house, right? Especially with a SEAL husband having to be deployed and things like that. So, I would imagine that this works out very well for them. And his job is really a supportive role. Keep the house safe. Keep the money coming in, make sure the kids are taken care of, make sure the boys are getting what they need, the girls are getting what they need, that kind of stuff, and the dogs are getting what they need. And I think, guys, that can actually be a very good way of doing things. I just don't agree with the happy wife, happy life thing left by itself. May need some explanation. But once again, love to hear you guys' thoughts on it. All right, guys, appreciate you. Hope you're having a good week, and I'll talk to you next Thursday.